What's up, guys? So we've got another one of the top 8 profiles from the Sanctum Squad Winter Regional. Who am I going to be profiling today?
I'm Ewan. I was the one playing Prank Kids, and I came in 4th place at this one.
Oh, Ewan, yeah. I've been watching Ewan play Prank Kids for a while now. This guy is Prank Kids living legend, man. He was playing Prank Kids when before Meow. Before Meow was a thing. This guy was on
Hey, the
Prank
good
Kids.
old days.
Yeah,
The good
my
old
gosh.
days.
Yeah, living legend. So I'm sure Meow to one to you, you were like whatever light work, weren't you?
Yeah. Right. Um, I have been playing the deck for a while now, as Simeon said. It's about 2 years, and this is probably about as fun as it's been since the Eternal format, to be honest. Which was really fun. Like, don't get me wrong, but this is in this format especially because it's so settled. It means you can play around with ratios a lot more just to try and work out little fun ways of getting around the meta, as it really doesn't change a lot at the moment. So anyway, let's get into it. We have the standard 3 copies of each of the names that you need for Butler, 3 fans, 3 drops, and 3 lamps.
Okay.
Nothing much to say about this. It's always been this way. I'm on 2 copies of Roxy's.
Okay. How come to only 2 Roxy's?
I feel like this has become pretty standard, to be honest, especially since the deck became popular after VFD got banned. It's one of the Roxy's is probably the least optimal to start on because for Roxy's to work, you need to for Roxy's to be like really good. You need to know which of the cards in your hand is dead, and you don't really know that until you're into your combo a lot of the time. So Roxy's is usually the least optimal one to start on. I was on 3 Roxy's 3 place and no terraforming, but I just found that having the terraforming instead of the Roxy's generally was much more optimal because you get to choose which one you start on.
That makes sense. Okay.
And 15 is more than enough.
Yeah, every card is full combo, so it's...
Exactly.
Yeah.
15 one-card starters is
insane.
Just usually enough, in my opinion. Right. I'm still on Poly.
Free Poly, wow.
Some people don't like it. I definitely do. It's probably the least bricky way of playing through hand traps. If you open 2 kids and a Poly, more often than not, your best bet is to normal summon. Still try to go through your Meow Meow plays. If it gets hand trapped, you can activate Poly and carry on playing. If it doesn't get hand trapped, then Poly is free Roxy's fodder.
Makes sense.
It's one of those, like, unless you're seeing multiples in your opening hand, which is rare, it really doesn't become a problem, and it's just such a powerful card to resolve as well. It still enables the old Toad Dweller combo if you really want to go through it, but more often than not, you just sit on Toad with a Butler with Meow Meow engraved, and that's more than enough to stop most decks.
Okay.
3 Pandemonium. I feel that this is mostly standard. I think I still see some people trying to play 2. 3 is just better. In a format where dogmatic punishment exists, when any kind of targeting removal exists, chaining Pandemonium to that on the normal summon is just free as anything. Play through an interruption for fun. Just makes everything easier. Plus, it's always good to see in your opening hand because you don't need to search it. Then you can start searching other cards like Pranks and Place if you need to. Just seeing it in your opener just makes everything easier.
Yeah.
1 copy of Pranks. This, again, I feel has become standard. I wanted to play more, but I feel as though it's not good enough on its own to warrant playing more copies. Like, it's very good, and you want to see it. You want to add it during your combo, but until you start your combo, it's not good enough on its own to justify playing it multiple.
Okay.
Next, for a number of one-offs, we got Monster Reborn. Don't really need to explain what this does. Just let you combo through hand traps or occasionally bring back Toad for the lols.
Mm-hmm.
You got Instant Fusion. Again, to prank kids, I don't really need to explain what this does. Summon Rocket, Monster Reborn for 2 is pretty strong. 1 for 1. I find this really powerful, especially when you don't start on fansies. You just, if you normal summon a Dropsies or a Lampsies, get that Ashed, Gammered, Meistered, whatever, and then you activate 1 for 1. You just carry on and ignore them, ignore the hand traps, which is amazing. This is absolutely mandatory at the moment.
The Dragon Fusion.
Yeah, because Butler, for some inexplicable reason, is a Thunder monster. Yeah, Verte Anaconda's an absolute powerhouse of a card. The fact that it can summon things other than Dragoon a lot of the time seems to pass people by, but it's still an absolute monster of a card. The fact that you can get Nibiru at any point in your combo, and if you have any way of accessing an effect monster on board, just turn the Nibiru token into a Link Spider, get the effect monster out, turn it into a Verte, set up the Butler anyway.
That is pretty mad.
It's just so powerful. Anyway, that's it for the extender one-offs. Plus, it's bad. It's really good to draw anyway. Like, it's a one-off that you send from deck to grave for an effect, but it's really good to draw as well because you can just activate it a lot of the time.
Is one of the little prank kids a Thunder as well?
Yeah, fansies.
Gosh, so even that you get that effect as well.
Exactly. So you shuffle the 3 back into deck to summon the Butler.
Yeah. And
then during your next turn, you get to search full combo.
Flipping heck, yeah, insane card.
Yeah. Hand Trap Hate. You play 1 Call by the Grave, and the money card. 3 copies of Cross-Out Designator.
Yeah. How did you find Cross-Out Designator?
It's so good. People I've seen a lot of people complaining that this card is a brick a lot of the time, and I have nothing but confusion towards them because if, like I said, Roxy's exists. If you need to activate it during your combo, you activate it. If you don't, you banish it.
Yeah.
This won me. This definitely won me my round 6. Because of my because of the hand trap lineup I play with it. Because I resolved it in games 1 and 3 against Virtual World on the Gamma. Which Call by the Grave doesn't do. It just can't stop one of the most powerful hand traps in the game at the moment. So, and it stops Infinite Impermanence, which is not quite as impactful as Gamma. Don't get me wrong, but it's still pretty strong. Imperm on the Dodo forces you to play. It's not bad, but it's suboptimal. It's like you don't want to have to play through it if you don't have to, and Designator definitely helps you play through that. Then we're on to the hand traps. I play 2 copies of Ash Blossom. The reasoning behind that was I'm already on over 40. I play 42 in this deck. Which is uncommon, I'll give it that. Most people try to stick to 40 where possible, and I understand why, because when you've got your power 1-offs, your Monster Reborns, your Instant Fusions, your 1-for-1s, you want to try and limit your deck size to see them as much as possible. But at the same time, I think there's enough power cards in the deck at the moment that you can get away with running over 40. Ash is one of those that you have to run because it's a good card and you play Cross-Out Designator, so it's the most common card you're going to hit with that. But it's not as powerful as people make it out to be in this format. Like most decks will have a way to play through an Ash Blossom.
Definitely.
So it's decent to see in your hand, which is why we're not playing 1. But you don't want to see it as your only hand trap, which is why we're not playing 3.
Makes sense.
We're on 3 Droll in the main. I know a lot of people are only playing this for Drytron.
There
are not a lot of decks in the format that don't get hit by this. I think I've heard it
Okay.
told. I've been told by people who've seen me maining this that the card just doesn't do enough against your tri brigades. But you look at the number of times that they search. You look at the
Yeah.
number of times that they search in a turn. They search at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they open none of their like search cards, their draw cards, you don't get the prosperity or the desires or the tanky. You still got the Nerval search, and then after that you go for Bearbrum.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you can drop this and resolve it on the Nerval search, they're not. They have to hard draw Revolt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Revolt basically is that deck.
Yeah, no, I like that as a theory, yeah.
Yeah, I mean you've also got your Shadow invoked. I mean it straight up won me my match against Shadow invoke because I managed to drop it on the meltdown. Add Alistair, Droll, what do you do from there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a really solid hand trap that a lot of people are glossing over for the main deck because they only think it's relevant in one matchup, but it's relevant in so many more situations than people give it credit for.
Definitely.
I play Gamma in the main. It's such a good card. So many people are playing it at the moment. Try are playing it. Try are playing it for the cat resolution. You've got virtual world players using it because they can use the Gamma and the driver to, make things. They can use the Gamma to hard synchro for Crystal Wing and then overlay the driver into something useful. Which did actually happen to me in one game, which was crazy. Yeah, it was that virtual world match I was talking about. Game 2, he resolved Gamma, made Stardust Charge Warrior, synchroed Gamma and Charge Warrior into Crystal Wing.
Gosh.
He just hard made it, didn't even need the Zolkin. It was ridiculous. Then ended up overlaying the driver into I want to say M7. Yeah, it was M7, so I back the Lulu.
Gosh.
Oh, it was mental. But yeah, Gamma is it's really powerful and it's really common at the moment. So I don't if I'm playing cross out, I'm also playing this.
Makes sense.
And then making 42 cards, last 3 cards, infinite impermanence doesn't really need a lot of explanation. It's a really good hand trap. Plays around triple tactics talent, and it's a really good card to banish with cross out.
So just before we move on to the extra, I actually have a question for you regarding triple tactics. What's your opinion on that? Do you think it's worth in your deck? Because I know we definitely saw a huge amount of that card at the regional. What do you think about
it? It's definitely worth looking at. I wouldn't say that it's wrong to play in any sense. It's definitely good, and it's probably better going second for us, I'd say, because Prank Kids as an engine doesn't inherently play well going second. So if you can force out a disruption and then use the tactics to take out any other disruption, like steal a monster, or like draw 2 and draw another extender, then that's really good. I think it's much better going second than it is going first, because we have so many starters and so many extenders that a lot of the time you'll see something anyway. If you're not like the card that you're playing instead of triple tactics talent is more often than not more valuable in your hand than talents going first.
That makes sense.
And I think going second, if you are playing it specifically for going second, there are better cards to do the specific job that you want to do. Like, if you want to play through a board of multiple disruptions, you'd rather see Dark Ruler or Droplet.
Yeah.
If you want to get rid of a specific threat out of their hand, then you could be playing Caught by the Grave or a Crosshair Designator that hits the first effect and stops you from being disrupted in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I feel like it's a very generic answer to a lot of things, and it's not the most powerful answer to anything. Is my take on it.
I get what you're saying. That makes sense.
All right, should we move on to the extra?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like now with the 1 meow as well.
Mine's slightly different from what you'd see from a lot of other people. This is purely due to a theory I've built up over the years of playing Prank Kids, in that if you are going into a monster, if you're going into a monster that doesn't immediately win you the game on its own from the extra deck, you're probably doing it wrong if it's not a Prank Kids monster.
Okay.
And we'll get to that in a second. So obviously we're on 1 cat. Unfortunate, but probably justified, to be honest.
Just a little bit.
Right, the entire deck's 1 card engines specifically because of this card. It could have had no text on it and it would still be busted.
Yeah.
The fact that it has an effect on top of that is unbelievable, and why they decided that was a good idea is beyond me. But there was not a single Prank Kids player pre-Meow Meow who believed that we were ever going to get a Link 1. Because it would be so stupid, the deck would be so easy to play. Why would you ever do that? And then they did it. The absolute mad lads.
So Konami just wanted this deck to be good. That's really what it came down to.
Hey, I'm not complaining. I'm just surprised. We're on 3 Dodo.
Okay.
It's the best card in the extra deck, no question. It's a straight up +2 on its with its own effect, regardless of the effects that you're triggering to link summon it in the first place. Like adding a spell trap from deck to hand and then triggering it itself to add 2 cards back from grave is unreal. You always want this in your extra deck. There is not a single play in Prank Kids that happens without this card. So playing 3 for me seems mandatory. We're on 2 copies of Bow Wow. I like this. I've seen a lot of people on 1 Bow Wow. I get it. The extra deck has always been quite tight for Prank Kids. Personally, I really like keeping it in engine with Prank Kids because of the way that all the effects work with each other, we just continually generate card advantage. So you can go for your access code talkers, your big monsters, but if your opponent has any disruption left that you weren't aware of, and they manage to stop the access code, you commit so much resource into those that you usually will lose the game from there if they stop it. So I like to keep it in engine so that it just keeps snowballing and snowballing, because the Prank Kids don't exactly struggle going into time, do they?
Yeah. No.
And then 1 copy of Roaster. This was for the back row heavy decks. It didn't quite work out. I faced 1 of them in the first round, and it was my only loss of the day.
Oh no. That was Geist, right?
That was Geists, yeah. Turns out when they open Strike Torrential 1 game and Strike a Rivalry in another.
Oh god. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it took him 3 more turns after that to draw into an engine card, but I couldn't do anything. So
yeah.
If it works, it works. But yeah. Back row's a problem. I'd say your back row heavy decks are your worst matchups, other than maybe Virtual World going second, because they're the ones that are likely to have the floodgates that just don't let you play the game.
Just plonk Shen on the board and
yeah,
it's pretty much.
I underestimated the amount of trap decks that were going to be there. Fortunately, I managed to dodge most of them, but anyway, fusions. I'm quite light on the fusions, to be honest. I'm only running 1 of each. I don't feel like you need any more than this.
Okay.
The only reason I'd say you need more is if you're on multiples of Thunder Dragon Fusion, in which case you'd run multiple Butlers. Rocket Ride is one you can recycle during the end phase of your turn with pranks. Weather Washer is one that you either you might is Weather Washer is one. Weather Washer is a weird one. I kind of want to sometimes, but I don't feel as though the number of times you feel like you need an extra washer is worth using up the extra deck space for it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's it for the fusions. Links, we got Link Spider Verte. Does anything need to be said about these?
Good cards.
We've been through Thunder Dragon Fusion. We know what the plan is. If I get hand trapped, I can make it. It's just so good. I'm on Toad and Dweller for the Xyz. Back to what I was saying earlier about if you're using resources to make extra deck monsters that don't immediately win you the game, Toad is such a strong card. Any deck that can, the fact that Paleo is still a deck tells you how strong this card is.
Definitely.
Like, it's decks exist that entirely function around summoning this card. So if you can play this in your deck, there's no reason not to. Dweller, again, we all know how strong this thing is. There are so many decks that just can't function under Dweller in this format. Virtual World really struggles. Drytron really struggles. Tri-Brigade really struggles. It can just immediately win you the game outright. And then the last card in the extra, might get a couple of funny ones for this, is Cypher Lord Omega.
Okay.
I didn't want my Gamma and Driver to be dead on board. And there's nothing I can really turn Gamma Driver into other than Verte, which, if I'm resolving Gamma, I don't really want to do because it means dropping Verte on the board before I've gone through my combo most of the time.
Yeah.
Omega is just, we all know how good Omega is generally. I really like the fact that it can return Meow to the grave in your opponent's standby phase.
Yeah.
As well as ripping cards out of hand. It's a really powerful card and a really nice one to have if you end up resolving the Gamma and have nothing to do with it. That's it for the extra.
Okay. Yeah, pretty solid extra deck. Yeah, I really like a lot of the choices that you made. So yeah, let's look at that side deck then.
Okay, onto the side deck. Lancia. It's Lancia. There's a lot of decks that just die to this. It won me my games against Dragon Link. It very heavily influenced my games against Virtual World. Yeah, solid card. Nibiru made sense in testing. Didn't actually come up at all.
Oh wow.
The one time I drew it was when I sided it in as a one-of for the Geist match in case they dropped it on me, and I drew it in my opening hand. So I couldn't banish it with Crossout.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh,
so I just didn't. The theory's solid with this. I just didn't see it all tournament.
Yeah.
3 Dark Ruler. There are people who don't like this because if you activate this, you can't resolve Lampsies for the rest of the turn because it needs to burn and then special summon.
I see. Okay.
A lot of the time, if you're playing Dark Ruler into a board, you were never going to resolve Lampsies in the first place.
Yeah, of course. It's really about just giving you a chance to play the game.
Exactly. I mean, especially when you've got place terraforming and all of the kids, more often than not, you're going to have a starter that isn't Lampsies. So losing one kid effect more often than not is worth the cost of being able to play the game. Plus, Herald of Ultimateness is a bitch.
Yeah, ridiculous card.
3 evenly matched. This was solid. It definitely helped me in one of my games where I was. Which game was it? Oh yeah, it was the Doll Invoked. It was the Doll Invoked matchup. This helped me. Cleared out all of the back row, left them on Winder, and I was able to take the Winder attack and the next turn beat over it with a Washer, which won me the game in the end. And then the next one, unfortunately, I don't have these on me at the moment because I had to borrow them from someone. The last three in the side deck even were 3 copies of Solemn Judgment.
Judgment, okay.
They were absolutely incredible.
Okay, so what was your like strategy with them? What were you? How were you playing with them?
Judgment were coming into the side if I was into the main if I was coming first. Gamma was coming out most of the time.
Okay.
Going first, because while it is cool to resolve going first, and I've got Omega in the side deck, you can't in the extra even you can't rely on that. I mean, sometimes you're just not going to get the chance to activate Gamma going first.
Yeah.
Whereas if you draw into Judgment, it's always going to be live.
Yeah.
And it straight up won me games. Like, it won me rounds 5 and 6.
Wow.
Judgment negating the summon of, I think it was a Chaos Ruler in round 5. Because they poured a lot of resources into that and then just couldn't go any further from there. Game 6, it negated Twisters in the standby phase.
It's quite big. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, it's massive.
And especially in a deck like yours, which has so much room for like flex spots and stuff.
Exactly. Plus, with this as well, because you draw with Roxy's in your combo, when you are siding things in, you're more likely to see them than in some decks. So having these like really powerful blowout cards having this really powerful blowout card to go first with when you're siding is just such a useful thing to have.
Makes sense. Okay, solid.
And that is about it.
So what would you say in terms of the list? Were you happy with it? Anything major you might change? Anything that
If I'm looking at the side, I don't think I've changed much about the main deck, to be honest. That played really smooth. I don't have any complaints about that. The extra deck, I think I probably dropped Dweller, to be honest.
Okay.
It never really felt like it was worth making over Toad, and I never found myself in a position where I could make both. So I feel as though I'd probably take that out for maybe an Axis code, maybe an extra fusion. I'm not sure yet, but I feel like Dweller was probably the most underperforming card of the tournament.
Makes sense.
Side deck, I think I'm probably going to try and fit a bit more back row removal in. Like I say, it was the only matchup I lost to was Altergeist, and it wasn't the engine, it was the floodgates and really powerful traps that I lost to. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe focusing more on that kind of weakness. But the main deck played absolutely solid, and I'm not changing that for the thing. At least not until Bode comes out.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be interesting to see how Bode switches up the format for us. But
yeah, definitely. But, looking forward to it.
Actually, yeah, in fact, I'm going to get a secret opinion as well from Crankins Player. How are you feeling about Brave Token coming out?
Brave Token is going to be so much fun. I am really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think
it's such a generic engine. Any deck that like doesn't use the effect of its normal summon immediately profits.
Yeah.
Because of the way the continuous spell works as well, with the effect to equip a card from deck. If you can get through your Brave engine and then normal summon your kid, not only do you have the negate on board, you're also chain blocking the first kid effect with the effect to equip an equip card from deck.
That's flipping amazing, gosh.
Yeah, because it triggers on any normal triggers optionally on any normal or special summon. So what you can do is link some Meow Meow, trigger your kid as chain link 1, and the continuous spell is chain link 2.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to negate the ash on the first kid.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I can see why Prank Kids was like the first deck to top with the spray token engine and why it was doing mad in ACG.
It's such a smooth engine to fit into the deck. Yeah. I'm really enjoying testing with it, to be honest.
It's gonna be awesome to see it. Well, thank you for the profile. Really good job, bro. Yeah, I mean, you've been, like I said, you've been topping regionals since I met you with this deck. So yeah, really awesome to see you hitting another one. But thank you for doing this. You got any shout outs? Anyone you wanna give a quick call out to?
Biggest shout out is to my brother Cameron. He helps me work through the crazy ideas I have and tells me what I'm doing stupidly a lot of the time. So he's the one that stops me from fitting in all these crazy texts that I come up with a lot of the time.
Yeah, last round you guys had that battle for the top spot.
Yeah, he was the virtual world player I was playing that 6th round against. So yeah, I was the one that stopped him from topping in the end, which made for a really fun car ride home. But it happens.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. All right, well, thank you for that, Ewan. Guys, another really awesome profile. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.